Everybody. So I'm going to try and be nice and quick because I realise we've gone a bit over time, and you'll hopefully see how some of what we've got planned fits with that last presentation. So I'm Simon. I'm based at Cranfield, and I'm leading the Urban Observatory development. And my kind of role at Cranfield, I'm a senior lecturer in environmental decision making, so a real jack of all trades. We're busy developing an urban observatory at the moment. It's slightly on hold thanks to COVID, so we have lots of sensors in boxes, but we have this interesting site which is about 800 acres, and it's a real microcosm of an urban environment. So we've got airfield, we've got combined heat and power plants, and as you'll see in a moment, we've got things like our own wastewater treatment works. And we're starting to sensor up the campus to give us a better understanding of how infrastructure systems work and how we interact with infrastructure and design resilient infrastructure, for example. So some of the sensors that we've got and we've put in, for example, are around water quality. So we have, and this is one of the key parts of my work, is we want to start to link up the UCRIC investments in laboratories. So we've got the National Research Facility for Water and Wastewater Treatment, which is a glorified name for our water treatment works. So it's that slides on the top left and the centre. So we've got this water treatment works. They're about to put in about 100 sensors throughout that water treatment works. In parallel with that, there's also on the top right, the Breakthrough Innovation Hub and water facilities that have been funded by UCRIC. So you've got these laboratories, we've got the urban observatories. So the stuff on the bottom is some of the sensors we're putting in to look at water. So we've got a water quality and level network that goes across the airfield into our water treatment works and out the other side. We also have that center picture on the bottom, flow cytometry equipment, and we're about to put a phase 2 of that in. So we'll be able to look at the bacteria going in and out of the water treatment works on top of all of those 100 sensors in the water treatment works. And then we've got things like water use monitoring. So the bottom right-hand side is some shower monitoring where we're looking at shower use on the campus. So one of the core aims of the project is and my work is to start to link up. So can we link up the urban observatory data with the data that's going on in the labs, and then start to feed that into Daphne and start to develop a digital twin, visualize the data, make it accessible to researchers from different disciplines. Okay, so that's the initial part of the work, and we're going to focus that around some hackathons at Cranfield. And we're also going to bring in the next generation of researchers here. So Steve Hallett and myself helped to lead the DREAM CVT on environmental risk and big data. That's had about 40 PhDs looking at big data and analytics. Each year we hold a hackathon called our Challenge Week. And this year, hopefully, if it still goes ahead, due to COVID, we're planning a hackathon around this idea of how do we take that data from those sensors in all of those different formats. So some of the sensors are real time, some of them are less than real time and have offline processing. How do we bring that together? How do we analyze it on Daphne? And then how do we, for example, start to then visualize it through that equipment that has been bought for each of the different universities? Also, we want to raise exposure and awareness of the Daphne platform for these PhDs. So a lot of them are working on things like machine learning and using very large data sets. So can they port their models, for example, over to Daphne in the future? So that's some of the advocacy and training. Next slide. So that brings me on to the advocacy. We've got a lot of activities at Cranfield that revolve around data, and there's some interesting initiatives going on where we're starting to see some really interesting new forms of data sets that relate to infrastructure. So the top couple of slides and the one at the bottom in the middle is our new Digital Aviation Research and Technology Centre, which should have been opening in July. It's now opening in October. And on the top left-hand side, we've got the first UK remote digital control tower. And you can see it's collecting lots of imagery data, 365-degree data, 4K. So are there ways of using that data and feeding it into systems such as Daphne to do analysis on that data? There's a great data set there. Similarly, within Dartech, if you have a look on the bottom picture, just to the left of the building, so that's the building site a few weeks ago. To the left, there's a tower. On that tower, there's going to be a holographic radar. So is there work we can do around analysing that holographic radar to study things like wildlife flows across airfields, etc. Okay, so we want to raise awareness of Daphne and the sort of systems that are available. Other research groups we want to engage with as well as the Dartech team. So the bottom left-hand slide, we've got a road that's being designed and developed for the testing of autonomous vehicles. So it's covered in LiDAR, radar and CCTV. So what are the options there for using Daphne? Would it be possible to feed those very high resolution, high volumes of data onto Daphne in the future and to conduct analysis? And then finally, we've got groups at the bottom right. We've got quite a large agri-informatics and environmental informatics team. So we want to raise awareness of Daphne within those groups as well through advocacy. And also through in our team, so we have a School of Defence and Security, so also in the area of urban security as well. So we think there's some interesting avenues there. So the final slide, very quickly. On top of all of this, we're also busy working with, as Luke was saying, the urban observatories are developing data structures and APIs to share data across the observatories. And it's starting to come together as though we can link the observatories into a larger system. So some of that work is working with the Daphne team. So how might we use Daphne to actually, could we containerize our urban observatories? Could we stick them onto the Daphne system? And then as Christian was saying, how do we stream data onto the Daphne platform? So at the moment, Daphne, or last time we spoke, Daphne hadn't been designed for streamed data. So we want to do some small tests on can we stream data onto Daphne? What are the sort of security issues? What are the practical challenges of that? So in a very quick nutshell, that's the sort of activity that I'm going to be up to at Cranfield.